It's tempting to catalog all of our accomplishments, but that would be a pretty long video. In particular, this year, it's tempting to focus on the pandemic that has caused us to rethink a lot, but nowhere near all of what we do here. We're pretty sure everyone watching this knows there's a new normal, and most of you know at least something about how we're managing things here at Beth Israel Center. You know we moved services and classes online. You know we're trying to find safe ways to gather limited groups in ways that minimize risk. Information about services, special and ongoing programs, and the practices we're following to keep our community safe are all on our website and in the emails we send regularly. Much of the work we do is collaborative with the committees we staff, so we expect you'll learn more about that in the committee report. So what's left to tell you about? Plenty. But no one wants this to be an hour-long video. So each member of our team is going to take just a few seconds to share with you how our particular job has changed this year and what gives us hope. I'll start. Despite my professional organization's conference being canceled in March, I feel more connected than ever to my NAASE peers and was proud that USCJ asked me to co-present a webinar in June about how to communicate in these times of crisis. What gives me hope is that our congregation is serving as an example for others on a national level.
Hi, everyone. What's changed most about my job is that I'm masked every day, but still supporting everybody in the office to the best that I can. I've been here for a year now, and I'm really happy to be able to meet many members that I didn't know before and continue relationships with people that I've known since I was a kid. What gives me hope is that we are figuring out and continuing to provide programming so that we can all communicate together and see each other, even if it's over Zoom or distanced in a park or parking lot.
My job has changed in every way imaginable. In the spring, I created synchronous and asynchronous Jewish education and experiences for our children, including creating a point system challenge that was downloaded over 100 times by my colleagues across the world. We continue with our weekly Shabbat Shalom Zooms and will continue until we can gather together again. With time, we added virtual adult education programming, including partnering with the Hadar Institute to create a Tikkun Leil Shavuot that mirrored our highly successful annual event in an online and small group format. I look forward and hope to see all the children, babies to teens, back in our building. This time at home or in our empty building has shown me that it's the students who give me my energy.
Programming for our youth and grown-ups has remained alive and well, only now in a different and more creative place of meeting. The BIC backyard for a compelling youth discussion about race and social justice, or a youth executive board meeting spread out in a spacious room on a rainy day. Looking forward, we're reimagining Kalo Kahila as an online format where I hope that our congregants will continue to share their special talents, skills, and interests, and our same congregants will continue to indulge in the special gifts being offered. Along with Barry Rich and Adrienne Borsi, glorious food ideas will continue to delight you all as part of this very successful program.
Shalom, everyone. So the biggest change is now I know we can be spiritual entrepreneurs together. Whether it's a bar mitzvah, a shiva, conversions, a wedding, sick calls, or ufrufs, we are on it. And many of us are experiencing deeper connections than before because of the change in medium. We are so full on and frontal, and we have come to make it work for us. What gives me hope is you, and also knowing from my colleagues how highly regarded our approach is. I'm hearing from rabbis and kihilot around the world who are sharing that we really are a model of thoughtfully considered innovation. And it's because you are at the center. Everything that we are doing is guided by feedback and also focused on our sincere desire to meet your needs, not just do what we've always done, but this time on a screen. I have so much hope for the coming year that we will continue to grow ourselves as a community.
Hi everyone, this is Mark Koplovich, VP of Ritual and Chair of the Ritual Committee at Beth Israel, with my annual meeting report for 2020. First, let me thank the members of the committee who are an amazingly thoughtful and hardworking group. They're really, as you know, the unsung heroes of BIC, especially this year with all of the upheaval surrounding COVID-19. So thanks to Matt Banks, Esther Kirskola-DeLay, Yona Drazen, Daniel Goldman, Leslie Greenspan, Cy Hellerstein, Bill Schwab, and Rayla Temin. Special thanks especially go to Rayla, who completed yet another year of scheduling all of the participants for Tefillot on Shabbat and Chagim, and the show really wouldn't function without her and with the rest of the committee and their dedication and hard work. Special thanks also go again this year to David Balkansky, who, although he's not formally on the committee, does an incredible amount of quietly crucial work for us and for the shul, especially in terms of helping us clean the Torahs, polish the silver for the Torahs in the sanctuary. And again, we're extremely grateful for his time and dedication. Committee's work this year was focused on three main tasks. The first was continuing to develop and deepen our partnership with Rabbi Forrester in her second year. It's been another very successful year of productive engagement. We held a committee retreat with Rabbi Forrester in November 2019 as part of the shul strategic planning process, where we identified key goals for the committee under four categories: spirituality, education, belonging, and our daily minyan. And those goals are really guiding what we do as a committee going forward. Our other main task, as always, has been managing daily and weekly tefillot and trying to find the balance between maintaining Beth Israel's traditional davening with our efforts to increase participation in spirituality, all while finishing at a reasonable hour as well. This task, as you know, became even more difficult as COVID-19 hit, and the committee has really worked tirelessly with Rabbi Forrester and me to implement our weekly and Shabbat Zoom services, which, as many of you know, despite circumstances, these have been extremely successful and widely attended, and we hope to keep seeing as many of you as possible there. The third thing we've been working on this year is cleaning and repairing our Torahs. And we're excited that the last of the Torahs that's been with Alex Kasser, the Sofer in Virginia, will hopefully be back by the end of the summer. And so we've completed a 1.5 year long process of new Torah mantles, cleaning and repairing the silver, and now repairing the Torahs, our most important ritual objects. Going forward for this coming year, we're working very hard to prepare for virtual high holiday services. While we won't be together in our regular format, we're still very excited about Rabbi Diamond coming back as our Shaliach Tzibor again. Building on our strategic planning, the committee is planning to have a congregational survey sent out in fall of 2020 around our goals as we continue to strive for the best possible ritual programming at BIC. Third, going forward, Leslie Greenspan, with the help of several others, has designed an absolutely beautiful new siddur for our Beth Israel Shiva Minyanim. It contains original artwork, curated poetry and readings, and Mincha and Mariv Tefillot and translations, and we're hoping to have it printed and in use by the end of the calendar year. And finally, we continue to discuss and work as a committee and with the regulars of the Daily Minyan about sustaining the Daily Minyan, and we remain committed to having at least one service per day, either Shachrit or Mincha Mariv at Beth Israel. So we'll continue to do our work as best we can to provide meaningful and engaging tefillot during COVID-19. And Im Yirtzeh Hashem will be together later this year in person in our building. So as always, feedback to me and the committee from the congregation is crucial and very much welcome. Please reach out to me with questions, with concerns, with feedbacks on anything related to ritual and tefillah at Beth Israel. Thanks very much.
Hi, I'm Emily Desai, Vice President of Education at Beth Israel Center. Thank you for joining us tonight. The three education committees, Talmud Torah, Adult Education, and the Library Committee, capped off another successful year of offerings addressing challenges and planning for an uncertain future. All of the education committees spent significant time this year on long-range planning and setting 1 to 5 year goals. While their original mission and vision remains, the landscape for the next couple of years has necessitated revision. I want to extend a hearty thank you to all of the education committee members for their contributions on behalf of our entire GAHAL, and invite anyone with interest in education to join us. The Talmud Torah Committee welcomes a new member, Daniel Stoltz, and says farewell to Jennifer Hadley after her many years of service. Lori Nagus, Jeffrey Mandel, Michelle Minkus, Judith Sohn, and I make up the rest of the committee. The Talmud Torah has successfully navigated uncharted waters this year. In March, Talmud Torah transitioned entirely to a digital distance learning format. Beth Koplovich and Shira Forrester created a fantastic home-based multi-age program for students that was family rather than technology-centered. The program was well received, and their colleagues downloaded it over 100 times from a Jewish educator Facebook group. Beth began and continues to hold weekly Zoom meetings for Talmud Torah students to check in with each other and continue their Jewish education and sustain their community. In response to closing Jewish overnight camps, Beth extended Talmud Torah this summer into Machane Randal, a pun on Camp Randall, for children whose previously scheduled overnight camp experiences were canceled. 13 children entering grades 4 through 7 are joyfully participating in the 7-week-long, 3-day-a-week experience, and it's going really well. Now Talmud Torah looks to the future to consider how to gather starting this fall. We are conducting a survey of Talmud Torah parents to learn about their feelings about the medium of instruction, virtual or face-to-face, knowing that pandemic face-to-face means that students will sit 6 feet apart and that it would be a very different experience from our typical learning environment. We are fortunate to have a large building and a small school, which allows us to spread out and conduct face-to-face education safely. We will constantly be assessing the delicate balance of physical safety with spiritual and social needs, taking into consideration public health guidelines, and will always provide a distance learning option for those unable to attend in person. The Adult Education Committee welcomes Zach Massa-Myers and thanks Henry Jason, Kazu Kitano, Barry Rich, Nancy Rich, Phyllis Weisbard, and Steve Nadler for their ongoing commitment. The Adult Education Committee continued to support a variety of educational offerings to support the diverse needs of our community. We extend a big thanks also to Adrienne Borisi-Gross for her work with Kolot Kehila. In the upcoming year, we intend to provide more predictability in the schedule for our classes, survey our congregation about interests and ideas for new offerings, and invite 1 to 2 scholars in residence each year. The Library Committee welcomes new member Kara Rock Singer and thanks Melanie Cohen, Clara Lazimi, and Becky Holmes for their continued service. The Library Committee continued to support efforts to improve library holdings and design. Erwin and Jeff Rosenberg, sons of AJ and Celia Rosenberg, for whom our library is named, made generous donations to the library. The committee was in the midst of consulting with Sue Safer-Lando from the Interiors Committee about purchasing furniture to improve the circulation and checkout process when our work was interrupted by COVID-19. We are currently reprioritizing our interior design needs. The Library Committee also continues to work to maintain and improve access to our collection. We continue to weed outdated books to make space in our circulation shelves for more resources and look forward to the day that we can purchase new materials. If you are interested in helping keeping the library tidy by shelving, weeding, and someday helping with new acquisitions, please contact the office as we are always looking for more help. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Hi, Beth Israel. I'm Ziva Weir, and I'm the VP of Membership Committee, and I am here to give you the annual Membership Committee report. The Beth Israel Membership Committee is made up of 6 different teams that have distinct goals, and I will explain those different teams now. The first team is the Chesed team. The goal of this team is to get volunteers to visit our congregants that are not able to leave their homes. This committee is led by Les Merkin and includes about 9 different people who regularly visit approximately 12 different congregants. These visits are in addition to the regular visits that Rabbi Forrester also makes. The next team is the kindness list. That team is organized by Sarah Karen, and she coordinates meals for people who have had surgery or babies, and people who make the meals are volunteers at Beth Israel, and they make and bring meals to people. In the past year, we've had 4 different people needing meals, and we've delivered approximately 9 meals for them, 3 meals a week for about 3 weeks. The Hakarot Hatov is the next team, and that team coordinates thank you kiddushes and celebrations for our volunteers. This year we honored Sylvia Gruens in October and David Balkansky in November, and the next person to be honored is Ashley Gordon, and we will honor her as soon as the pandemic wanes a little and allows us to have services at Beth Israel. The 4th team is the new member welcome team. The goal of this team is to make our new members feel welcome and part of the Kahal as quickly as possible. That team delivers welcome baskets, which are made by Donna Anderson. So those baskets include wonderful Shabbat-themed things, and they're dropped off by different volunteers. In addition, that team organizes the Shabbat dinner honoring new members. This year, that dinner was held on November 8th. It included about 120 people attending, which was also 2/3 of the board of directors. The 5th committee team is the prospective member outreach team. The goal of this team is to coordinate follow-up activities with people who have shown interest in Beth Israel. That could be someone who's attended a Shabbat service, high holiday services, any of the other fun children events, or just called the office to find out about services. The 6th team is the membership retention events team. This team is the one that affects all of our members because it's activities that everyone is invited to, and the goal of it is to keep us feeling like a kahal where we're all coordinated with each other and we have fun together and feel like community. While many of our regular membership events this past 6 months or so has been either delayed or completely canceled due to the pandemic, we intend to start doing them again as soon as possible. We will also start or continue to work on ways to keep us connected as the pandemic continues. If you have any ideas of how to do this, and or you're interested in helping on any of these 6 committees that I just talked about, please let me or Alyssa know, or call the office and give them ideas of what you're interested in. I hope to see you all soon. Bye.
The House Committee has had several successful projects that we highlight in this report. First, about sanctuary acoustics. We convened a task force to address 3 issues with the acoustics in our main sanctuary and have successfully resolved all 3. The biggest challenge, as you know, was with the poor sound characteristics of the 2 side rooms. The sound quality was so poor that we have not been able to use them as meeting rooms or for presentations. Working together with an acoustical consulting firm and the company that manufactured the movable partition walls, we solved the problem by replacing most of the panels comprising the partition walls with sound-absorbing media. A second challenge was initially baffling. The amplification system was less than optimal in some parts of the main sanctuary. Simply replacing the microphone on the rabbi's podium with one that is placed much closer to the speaker's mouth has solved that problem. The third issue, our hearing assist system has gotten mixed reviews. Some people like the devices, but they don't work well for a few other people. So we looked into upgrading our system, but found that our system is still the recommended one. Thus, we suspect the problem is with adjusting the devices. Our plan, once we're back in the building, is to work one-on-one with users to help them figure out their optimal adjustments. We've also purchased a few more devices, increasing the number of people that can simultaneously take advantage of this system. Thanks to the members of this acoustics task force, David Balkansky, Steve Goldstein, Ruth Latofsky, Phyllis Holman-Weisbart, and Jim Weir. The second set of projects is about sustainability. Implementing sustainability practices has been a key focus of the House Committee for the past 4 years. The solar panel array on Beth Israel's roof was our first major project. Those panels continue to produce, on average, 40% of the electricity consumed. During this past year, we've nearly completed a project to use dishes and glassware instead of disposable for kiddushim and other food services. We have the dishes and glasses now and organized storage space for them, and as well have mapped out a plan to solve all the logistical issues. Whenever it's safe to serve food again on dishes, we're ready. Thanks to Cynthia Hurst and Leslie Fields for spearheading this effort, and especially to Deb Hoffman for helping them to work out all these logistical details. The House Committee is committed to reducing or eliminating the use of herbicides and conventional fertilizers on our lawn. One consequence of this decision is that the dandelions are now vigorously outcompeting the sod that was planted after the remodel. We first tried organizing volunteer dandelion brigades, but found the demands of the task far exceed the supply of volunteers. In early spring, we began looking into alternative planting strategies and had prepared to launch a test plot with one of these alternative strategies. That project is now on hold. Lastly, I want to talk about some ongoing projects. First about the art display. The historical gallery that you see as you walk in the first floor entrance was completed in early March when we hung a large picture of the 1949 cornerstone laying ceremony. And in addition, the Interiors Subcommittee of the House Committee has drafted policies for art donation and display. So when we're back in the building, expect to see more progress on hanging art on the walls. Many thanks to David Balkansky, Sally Schrag, Sue Schaefer-Landau, and Jim Weir for their work on art display. A dedicated group of volunteers continues to show up several Sundays throughout the year to weed and mulch the flower beds. That work too is currently on hold. A special thanks to Howard Bregman for leading these cleanup efforts for the past several years. And now, looking forward to the next year, the House Committee will continue to work with staff and the COVID-19 task force as appropriate throughout the year. In particular, we will be monitoring the recommendations, the changing recommendations for building ventilation and other building mechanics, and helping staff kind of decide how to fine-tune our mechanical systems to keep us as safe as possible as the research develops.
Hello, everybody. My name is Miriam Shelleff, and I'm the chair of the Safety and Welcoming Committee. I'd like to start by thanking the members of our committee. I'd like to thank Alyssa Pollack, William Needleman, Jenny Edis-Parati, David Balkansky, Michal Engelman, and Rick Azell. Everyone will be continuing into the current year to continue working on this committee, except for Rick, and so I thank him very much for his help in the past year. So to summarize what we've done in the past year, the Safety and Welcoming Committee has worked to promote a safe and welcoming environment at Beth Israel Center. We've focused on 3 main areas. First, thanks to Alyssa, Beth Israel Center was awarded a nonprofit security grant through FEMA. To address the goals of this grant, the Safety and Welcoming Committee has been arranging upgrades for the surveillance cameras and other building projects such as window coverings and treatments to reduce visibility and to increase the durability. Second, our committee provided recommendations to the board regarding how doors should be monitored in a manner that balances safety and welcoming. Finally, we organized a set of 2 congregational conversations to gain a deeper understanding of the beliefs, concerns, and opinions among BIC members related to maintaining both a safe and welcoming environment. These conversations were extremely informative, so we are very grateful to those who participated. So our plans for future activities. So our initial plan was to quickly put what we learned at the congregational conversations into action. However, those conversations occurred days before Beth Israel Center closed its doors due to COVID-19. Since those conversations, many things have changed in our world. First, our needs for maintaining a safe and welcoming environment are very different than they were 6 months ago, just simply given the indefinite suspension of large in-person events. Additionally, following the death of George Floyd in particular, both policing and the experiences of Black and Brown members of our BIC and broader community is very much on our minds. Finally, we do not know how COVID-19, changes in policing, civil unrest, and upcoming elections will affect the level of risk to Beth Israel Center. Thus, we anticipate that the Safety and Welcoming Committee will be very busy this year. In addition to continually assessing how we monitor our doors and maintain a safe and welcoming environment, using feedback from the congregational conversations, we plan to finish projects related to window treatments and surveillance cameras. We also will be working on an emergency preparedness and communication plan. We are a small committee and we have a big job. We would love to have as many volunteers as possible, so feel free to reach out to me or to Alyssa, and we look forward to your help. Thanks so much, and thanks for listening.
We are still driving for Meals on Wheels. For Porch Light, the opportunity has changed. Get in touch with us if you'd like more information about the new volunteer commitment there.
We organized a delegation to Mexico in February, where several Beth Israel Center members and Rabbi Forrester volunteered at the border for the nonprofit Al Otro Lado, assisting asylum seekers. We resolved to plan another trip as travel restrictions allow. Upon our return, COVID-19 hit the U.S. and our committee sprang into action locally.
We are doing lots of things to feed people. At the Catholic Multicultural Center, which gives a free meal to anybody who shows up wanting one every day of the year, the second Wednesday of the month now, Beth Israel volunteers deliver large pans of vegetarian lasagna. We very often have enough left that we can also deliver it to the Beacon. In addition, Healing House, operated by Just Dane, houses folks just in or just out of the hospital, and we deliver 1 week of dinners periodically. Also, please remember the Food for Thought initiative, which was founded by our member Leah Ashkenazi. Look online and make a donation. We won't see you in person at Yom Kippur, but you can still contribute.
In the aftermath of the murder of George Floyd, our committee published a strong statement that I encourage everyone to read on the Schul's homepage. The Social Justice Committee is hoping to pursue a multi-year project of racial justice. We are looking into partnering with representatives of the Nehemiah Center for Urban Leadership Development. Look for announcements about how to get involved.
Brought to you by
your co-chairs,
Sally Jones
and Judy Pirati.
Greetings to all of my Beth Israel Center friends. I am Cynthia Hirsch, and for the past year, I have chaired the Strategic Planning Committee. I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to address the annual meeting. As you can imagine, it's a little odd to talk about our plans for the next 5 years when we don't even know if we'll be inside the building or whether Talmud Torah will happen in person in the next 5 weeks. But nevertheless, I feel strongly that the hard work that we've done this year will inform our plans for the next 5 years. I want to thank the hardworking Strategic Planning Committee, and I especially want to thank the staff who's been supporting us, Rabbi Forrester and Alyssa Pollock. What we have done is we've listened to you. We solicited information from the community, from other committees, from the staff, and we've thought carefully through what people have told us about how they feel about our community. And we have learned that in our community, we have 4 core values. I'm going to simplify this for the sake of this 2-minute video, but our 4 core values appear to be, first, that we want to all have a sense of belonging in our community. Second, that we want to learn things, and we want to learn things regardless of how much we already know, or what it is we want to know, or how much knowledge we bring to, literally, to the BIMA. Third, we want to feel a sense of joy in every activity that we participate in the community. And finally, we want our community to be administered or run with intentionality and a sense of purpose. We have, because of COVID, had to take a brief pause in our planning, but I feel strongly that we will resume our planning soon, and we will begin to formulate goals for the next 5 years that are appropriate given COVID, but also consistent with these 4 core values. So again, thanks for the opportunity to explain this to you, and goodbye.
Hi, I'm Jeff Mandel, Chair of the Personnel Committee, which includes Emily Desai, Aaron Friedman, Cynthia Hirsch, and myself. This has been a productive year for the Personnel Committee. With the assistance of an ad hoc negotiating committee that included Rick Azell, Marcy Katz, and myself, we negotiated a multi-year contract with our phenomenal education director. This ensures we have a full complement of staff for Beth Israel Center, including a successful integration this year of Sarah Massa Myers as our new administrative assistant. I'd like to recognize our entire Beth Israel Center staff for their tremendous creativity, tenacity, and grace in the face of unexpected and unprecedented challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. Our Beth Israel Center community is tremendously fortunate to be so well served. The Personnel Committee worked this year with Rabbi Forrester and Alyssa Pollock on evaluations of the staff who report directly to them, and with the assistance of the Evaluation Committee, consisting of Michal Engelman, Juliet Page, Nadav Shelef, and myself, we conducted annual performance evaluations of both Alyssa and Rabbi Forrester, who report directly to the board. These evaluations involved outreach to a broad cross-section of our community, so we want to thank everyone who provided candid, confidential, and detailed comments. Without your help, our evaluations would not be nearly as complete or as useful. I'm pleased to report on behalf of all involved that the evaluation process confirms that both Rabbi Forrester and Alyssa excel in their jobs and are treasured members of our Kahal. That does not mean there's not always room for improvement and greater efficacy. For both Rabbi Forrester and Alyssa, our evaluation process included detailed, constructive, pragmatic discussions that led to concrete goals agreed upon among the employee, the president, and the chair of the Personnel Committee. With respect to Rabbi Forrester's evaluation in particular, this was a significant process, as it had been several years since Beth Israel Center last conducted a performance evaluation of our rabbi. In addition, the Personnel Committee this year made substantial progress on assembling an updated employee handbook and recommending to the board the adoption of updated policies regarding our employment practices. I look forward to the next Personnel Committee chair helping shepherd these efforts to completion through the committee and the board. Our staff here at Beth Israel Center are the ones that make our community work and keep our congregation going. We are fortunate to have an excellent team, and it has been a privilege to lead the revitalization of our Personnel Committee, which exists to help evaluate and advocate for our community's vital human capital. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me directly, in person or online. Thank you so much.
Hello, this is Livia Asher, Chair of the Investment Committee. Regina Vidavier also sits on our committee. As a reminder, our investments are held at and managed by Johnson Bank. Our assets are separated into three pools: the endowment fund, the building reserve fund, and the levy fund, and they're all managed in a similar style. The board may draw up to 4% annually from the endowment fund to supplement our budget. In order to smooth out market fluctuations, we take an average of our balances for the past 12 quarters in calculating the draw. The building reserve fund, augmented annually, is to be used for longer-term projects such as a new roof or replacement of kitchen appliances as needed. And the levy fund may be used for discretionary items that are education-based. Needless to say, 2020 has been a very volatile time for the investment markets and both the US and global economies. The US stock market peaked in late February and then plunged 34% over the following month before starting a sharp recovery. Given governmental fiscal and monetary policy, interest rates have been sharply reduced. And while that's a positive for bond valuation, it does offer lower future incremental income. Our portfolios are comprised of a combination of both stocks and bonds, with a target range of 40% stocks and 60% bonds. So that we don't necessarily fully benefit when stock markets soar, but our returns are also buffered on the downside. In consultation with our advisor, we have not changed our longer-term allocation, as we remain confident that our risk profile is appropriate for our longer-term goals. Approximately 2 years ago, at the suggestion of and consultation with its Social Justice Committee, we began to explore social responsible investing. To that end, approximately 8.5% of our funds and 21% of our equities are thus invested. Through the first half of 2020, our portfolios after fees lost 1.3%. Longer term, our returns remain consistent with our goal to supplement our budget. More specifically, our 3-year returns are up 4.5% and are up 4.7% for the 5 years. At this time, the economic outlook remains unclear, and growth is likely to be slower after this initial bounce, and remains dependent on the pace of the pandemic, including the timing of a vaccine and governmental responses. In consultation with our investment advisor, we will make allocation changes if or when deemed appropriate, all within BIC's investment policy statement that emphasizes our longer-term financial needs. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Marcy Katz, Vice President of Finance for Beth Israel Center. I'm presenting the fiscal year 2021 budget today. And I want to thank the Budget Committee members, Matt Banks, Nadav Shalev, Jenny Eds-Parati, Alyssa Pollock staffed it, and the rabbi participated, and myself. We met every Sunday for 2 months to bring this budget to you. We're faced with an unprecedented time. It's filled with unknowns. No one knows what's going to happen. A lot of synagogues just chose to kick the can down the road and not do budgeting at all. We found this to be an unacceptable, fiscally irresponsible approach. And so we committed ourselves to doing the work it was going to take to bring together not just one budget, but a whole series of scenarios that we could then use to support decisions we have to make should the situation change that we're facing as time goes on. So we developed a 90% scenario. That's 90% of current year projected revenues, a 75% scenario, and a 60% scenario, so that we could evaluate what could the future for the next year look like. We also made assumptions in another whole scenario that looked at being out of the building permanently for the whole year, or being in the building with part use, sort of like we are now. It didn't make that big of a difference. One thing that we did decide was that central to our work was to focus on Beth Israel as the heart of our Jewish life and how important maintaining the building and the operations within was going to be. that is the heart and soul of what we do and who we are and how we live our lives. And therefore, it wasn't just about the numbers, it was about maintaining what we have and love. Therefore, we agreed that we were not going to, in any way, shape, or form, make rash decisions that would result in us having to reduce our staffing. We have a very small staff, and they operate all of this for us, and we can't take that for granted. And so that, we agreed, was going to be the last place we went, because without those staff, we have no operations and we have no building. All we have is a shell that we can't use. We decided in the end, after all of our work, that the most reasonable scenario for us was the 90% scenario. So 90% of our current year projected revenues was the most reasonable place for us to assume that we will be next year. It allows us to accept the fact that there are some families, some people whose jobs and livelihoods have been impacted by the COVID pandemic and the current landscape that we are now faced with, but most are not. Most of us, thank goodness, are still working and we're not impacted fiscally. So we're hoping that we will all do our part and make it up and cover those whose lives were challenged and can't do the part that they've done in the past. We also developed contingencies for the board to say, if we can't achieve our goal of 90% of our current projected revenues, what will we do? And we provided the board with a number of options. They include things like funds that become available through grants or zero or very low interest loans that synagogues can take advantage of. We did include in our budget this year a federal payroll protection plan loan of over $65,000. That loan is completely forgivable, and it gave us the meat that we needed to say, we're not touching our staff. That's what that money was for, and that's what it will be used for. As other companies have done, we will take advantage of things that are out there to help us support our operations. We have some cash reserves and we have some restricted funds. We'll use those too if we need to. We will go back to the board and let them know where we think we are and what we think we need to do if it looks like we will not be hitting our targets. So let's talk about the budget highlights. First of all, we have pretty much a balanced budget with a minor deficit of $453. That brings us in with revenues that are 0.7% lower than our current fiscal year budget. Now that includes that $65,000 of the payroll protection plan money. So it wouldn't be this close without those funds. We also have rolled a number of things together that used to be shown in the fundraising line to recognize that this is what members have done in the past. And so we have a row that's called annual member commitments instead of member dues, because it's not about dues versus some other fundraising initiatives we've had. It's about what was your annual commitment? What has it been? And so we are using that term in our budget now, annual member commitment. And we have moved those items together with the old dues numbers. And you will see that in the letter that you receive in the mail, that you are provided with those numbers that we now consider the annual member commitment. We are counting on everyone to do their part. We're going to need it, or we're not going to make it, and we're going to have to go back and reevaluate how are we going to survive in these unknown times. We did assume that we would continue to phase out our annual Goodman donation. It's a major gift of over $30,000, and we were told a few years ago that it would be ending. In our ability to not position ourselves to be in a crisis when that money was gone, we have been moving off of our revenues every year for the last few years, an increasing amount until we get to the level of what their donation has been. So that when it happens in a few years, a couple of years at this point, it's not a crisis for us. We will have adjusted over time. If we're in a position where we can't manage that this year, well, we'll go back to the board and we'll have that conversation. Fundraising, we still have a fundraising role. We are assuming that Beth Israel, like all other organizations, will learn to fundraise differently. No, we can't necessarily be in the building to have a supper quiz or a great big gala event, but we're nimble and we're smart and we'll figure out how to do fundraising and have fun together, even if we can't be together in the way we used to be. We did eliminate some areas for revenues that we knew just weren't going to happen this year. Rent, we can't rent our building out in the foreseeable future. And we can't have sponsored kiddishes because we can't serve food the way we used to. And we won't be able to for a while. It probably isn't going to be safe to do that for a while. So we also assumed that the expenses on the other side would be gone. If you're not going to have sponsored kiddishes, well, the food expense related to that won't be recognized in the expenses either. And we won't be able to have a sponsored or subsidized Shabbat dinner because we can't have a Shabbat dinner. So the expenses for that are not assumed in the budget. Expenses actually went down 2.5% over the current fiscal year budget. And that reflects the fact that we did assume that 3 staff who are not under contract would receive a small, very small increase of 1.5%. Because the 2 staff that are under contract, the rabbi and the education director, have built-in annual increases. And we didn't feel that it was really appropriate for them to be able to have that benefit and not have the other staff get some benefit of that. We also had to add remote access technology fees. We need to be able to Zoom, we need to be able to have staff remote in, and we need to be able to establish, which we're in the process of doing, the ability to operate like a webcam or a video cam on Shabbat and on the holidays during times when it is not appropriate for somebody to be touching the camera and turning it on and off. And it goes against everything the rabbi really believes to have to do that. And we need to have the ability for them to be able to stream those services without violating their core beliefs. And so the monthly fees related to that service are assumed in this budget. We did decrease security expenses to reflect what our current experience has been and what we think it'll be going forward. We're not in the building as much, and so some of that security was able to change. We also assumed that we would continue to meet our obligation that we agreed to with the Goodmans when they gave us a major endowment amount for our building to do all of our reconstruction that we needed. So they made a major gift of millions, but it came with a contingency that we had to agree to build a building maintenance fund. And so there is $21,632 assumed to be moved off our current income to go to the building maintenance reserve. In fact, you'll see a row just before the very final row that is the transfer of that amount, the $21,632, and the amount that we committed to this year of the Goodman gift that we get annually, so that we wean ourselves off those funds. You can see those over $40,000 getting moved into reserves. Again, if we have to, we'll come back to the board to talk about it. Hopefully we won't have to, and we won't have to make other decisions. We'll meet our commitments. Other expenses were simply adjusted as our current experience has been or what we know we're planning. And that's it. We hope that this has been and will be a reliable budget. We expect it will be, and if not, we've done the planning we needed to do, and we think we're in a very good place. I hope you stay healthy. I hope you have a good new year and that you are able to take advantage of the opportunities to stay connected, because that's the point of doing all of this, to keep us all connected. Thank you.